Alright, what is up guys? Today you will be learning how you can create this image. We will blend images together, create shadows, do some sunset lighting and make sure it looks like one good piece. So let's just jump right into it. Alright, now we're going to use this as the background, so I'm gonna copy this first and import this in the file. And this is our model, so just copying that, paste it here, make smart object. And now let's make sure they are standing in between the grass, so just let's put this in a folder. This is our model. Now I want to create a mask. Now go to your brushes and go to the legacy brushes. This is standard brushes from Photoshop, and scroll all the way down till you get to the grass brushes. So you can use one of these. I'm gonna use the Dune Grass here and open up the brush settings. So press this and disable the color dynamics. So that's really important if you are going to use it in this kind of scene. And make sure to select the black color. And let's zoom in a little bit here and let's do the tiger first. Disable this for now and make like these. Now don't want to do it too much or else its power is really gone. So this is fine for now, and let's do the same with the model. Alright, that is fine. Now I want to make sure they are blending well together in this grass and in the background and all the other stuff. So first I'm gonna get rid of that red of her. So I'm gonna create a hue and saturation layer. Make sure to press this will only affect her layer and bring it down, and maybe even select the red and bring all the red down. So this is better. Make sure to bring the mask down. And also this green from this grass. So this is our grass. Let's do the same here. Oh, create a hue and saturation layer. Select this so we only affect the grass, and let's bring this all the way down. Looks a little bit like black and white almost now, but it doesn't matter because we're gonna increase the colors later on again when we're done. So this is fine for now. And now let's create some shadows because they don't have shadows. I'm assuming the sun is gonna be, or some lighting is gonna be from this side, and I want to make sure that the shadows are on this side of them. So let's just first do the simple trick, that is to copy her layer, press Ctrl Command E and press Ctrl Command U to bring up the hue and saturation, bring down the lightness so we can make it all black. Then go to transform flip vertical and make sure it's underneath the layer, and just press Ctrl T. And now you want to hold down Command or Ctrl and make like this. With a bit of shadow. Doesn't look so right now, but we are going to fix that in a minute. So this is just to have something here, and I want to make sure this is black. So I'm gonna select the normal brush here. Make sure these areas are dark. Maybe brush a little bit extra here. And just drop the opacity. Now I want to blur this out a little bit. So I'm just gonna go to filter blur and Gaussian blur and blur the shadow a little bit out. And we can now stretch it even further. Because I'm assuming there's a little bit of a sunset going on, so the shadow needs to be longer. Because the sun is like really down and not up. Alright, so this is fine for now, maybe drop it more. And let's do the same for this tiger. That is fine. And now let's do more shadows, but with a brush now. So, gonna create a new layer. Let's put this in this folder first. So, and this will be shadows. Now I want to select the normal brush, bring the hardness all the way down, and bring the opacity and flow around 20%. And let's maybe even less, like 15 to 20, something like that. And you want to make sure around the pause we have shadows like behind it here. So behind all the pause, make some shadows. And let's make it bigger now. And underneath it, so all these areas here. And also behind it. And if it's too much, just bring it all back again. Some parts like this side don't need shadows, we have light here. So it's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna drop the opacity. And it's always better to create another layer if you want to create more shadows, so you can always adjust it later, like these behind these paws. It's better to create that on a separate layer. You can always adjust that one without affecting the other ones. Alright, this is fine for now, and I'm gonna do the same at her. Alright, now I want to create some darker and lighter areas on this model and this tiger. So let's start with this tiger. So I'm just gonna create a curves layer on top of it. Make sure to select this and let's make it darker, like that. And let's select the normal brush, select the black color, click on the mask of it, and make sure the flow and opacity is up again, and make this right side lighter again, because we have light on this side, so this side will be lighter a little bit here on these paws, and some here. All right, and let's do the same at her. So create the curves layer on top of her, select this, and make it darker. And let's zoom in, make this right side light again. You can leave it back dark, a little bit here. Don't want to have it too dark because the photo is already a little bit dark, so this is fine for now. Now let's create a new layer on top of it. Make sure to create a clipping mask and go to edit fill, select 50% gray and change the blending mode to overlay, and let's do some dodge here so we can make this side really lighter. Select midtones around 50%, and it's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna drop this, make this side lighter. And we can also let's drop this even more, like these pieces of clothes that's sticking out need to be a little bit lighter. A bit here. A little bit on the back and some here. So this is before and this after. And let's do some burn. Start with highlights. And make these areas darker. Especially here. Between this grass on the left side. Oh, not the arm, but this side. So it looks a a little bit more softer. So this was before and this after. Looks a lot better now, especially because we have the sun on this side. Now let's do the same with the tiger. So create a new layer on top of it again, create a clipper mask, go to edit fill 50% gray, change the blending mode to overlay, and let's do the dodge tool first. So left side around 50% midtones, dodge these areas. Alright, this is too much because he has like white fur and you don't want to have it too much, so it's a little bit of dodge here, especially its face. You don't want to have his face too dark, and these paws that are sticking out, this one, it's even too much, so I'm dropping this paw is getting some sunlight there, and like this, not too much, just a little bit extra. And now some burn, so highlights first. Can drop this around 30%, so behind his paw, underneath his chin here, on this side of his face, all these areas that have less light coming. And let's see, can drop this a little bit, midtones like here. And some shadows. Alright, so this was before and this is after. Looks a lot better now because we have light here. Alright, now let's also do some light corrections with this grass and all the other stuff here. So I'm just gonna create a curves layer on top of the grass, bring the highlights a little bit down so we can have some dark areas, and make these areas, let's see, select the normal brush and make these areas lighter because we have sun here, these, sky, maybe some of these parts. So it's a little bit darker here. Now let's create some lighting. I'm gonna create a new layer. Select the normal brush, pick something like yellow, pink, orange. Make sure it's somewhere around this range on the color picker. Let's create a dot and put it somewhere there. Change the blending mode to screen, so you have really this light popping out, and like that. So this is our sunset lighting. Let's create another layer and pick some more color. Create a dot again. This time we're going to use the overlay, so we can create some color from this sunset. I don't want to have too much, just a little bit of extra. So this is without those, and this is with. So we have some nice lighting going on there. Alright, I'm gonna do some final corrections here. So I think this side of the tiger can be even darker. So I'm just gonna select the curves layer here and bring this slightly down, so we have a little bit more shadow. And also for this, let's make a little bit more shadow here, and this one, right, that's too much, and maybe move it like that. And now let's see, we can make this light even like more popping out. So I'm just gonna select this layer and just duplicate it, so we have even more lights, and move it a little bit away from it so we don't ruin this face. All right, now let's do some curves here. So I'm gonna create the curves layer. This is on top of everything. So we can make this lighter and the dark areas slightly darker. And maybe drop the opacity so it won't be too much. And let's do some gradient here. So we can have the focus on these two. So I'm gonna select the radial here, select inverse. Make sure these are set to black. And make the scale bigger, I think around 140. And change the blending mode. Can be overlay or soft light. Drop the opacity. And let's make sure the sky stays light. So I'm just gonna brush that part away. And this part also. So you have some dark areas here. Just a little bit of darker. All right, now let's do some color balance. Select the shadows. Give it a little bit of blue. All right, let's leave the highlights like this. Just a little bit of extra blue. And I think I can make the sky a little bit better. I don't like this spot here, so I'm just gonna rasterize this and use the clone stamp tool. Just copying this and alright, that's too much. Need to make it smaller. Just to get rid of that black area here, dark area. Alright, that's better. And final thing to do to create some more depth in it, I'm just gonna add some leaves here. Like these are close to the camera and blur them out. So just put some leaves pretty big, like in the corner here somewhere. Go to filter, blur Gaussian blur, and blur this out. And don't forget to drop the saturation of it because it's way too bright now. So this is a lot better. And just play around with them. You can also duplicate those, move them to different places. Just try out different stuff and see what fits best. Alright, now if you really want to make this look cool and better, I always just create like a solid color on top of it and drop the opacity so it looks a little bit like this, a little bit bluish. And I'm gonna save this and open this up in Lightroom. Alright, now I got this into Lightroom and it doesn't look right now, but look what happens when I use one of my presets. So like this, and look the big change that it makes. So I'm gonna use this one and do some editing here. So it's a little bit dark now, so I'm just gonna increase this. So we can have like this beautiful sunset there. Rotate this, get this lighting all right. So something like this. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna export this again and open up in Photoshop. So this is the file I just created in Lightroom. I'm gonna select, copy this. We don't need this anymore. That was just for Lightroom. And just put it above all the other layers and drop the opacity. So this is before and this after Lightroom, and we can do some curves here to get that black, really black, like that. Alright, that is pretty much it for this one. I hope you learned something new again, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to, and see you on the next one.